Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Pony Podcast, recorded live at Burghley. We are here once more with Claire from BETA, so that's the British Equestrian Trade Association, and we're here to talk a little bit about equipment safety and why you need to make sure that all of your equipment is up to code and make sure that everything is safe and all of that stuff. It's nice to have you again.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you two again on a chilly day.
It is very chilly.
Sheltering in the media tent.
I haven't taken my coat off yet. Don't want to. But now I'm going to go outside and not benefit from it, and it's going to be even colder.
It's a good excuse to go and buy a new one.
It's a very good excuse, and I will send that to my mother. So we'll start with our first question, which is what items of safety equipment have a safety standard and why is the standard so important?
Okay, you'll tend to find it's things that go on you rather than your horse that has a standard. That's just the way the things have developed. And the main bits of kit that you'll see with a safety standard are riding hats, body protectors, boots. A lot of people are surprised at that. So boots with steel toe caps will have a standard on the whole boot, not just the steel toe cap. That's really important. High vis. And they're sort of the main ones that actually have a standard. Also, interestingly enough, there is a standard for the wooden trees in your saddle.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Did you see there's a bit of research that came out the other day from Oxford Brookes, where I went to university, where drivers will slow down more for like cow print tabards rather than high vis ones? It was in Horse and Hound the other week.
Print.
Yeah, like a piebald splodgy print. Apparently so.
Not more because they're like, what are they wearing?
Yeah.
Rather than...
I mean, maybe. So the woman she chose like a 100-metre stretch of road that was straight and rode her chestnut horse up and down it and up and down it and up and down it in high vis, in a blue shirt and in this cow print tabard, and she had like laser measures to see how much room people gave her and how much they slowed down, and they slowed down more and gave her more room for a cow print tabard than for...
I think maybe it's because they think, why is that crazy woman doing cow?
I mean, if it works though.
High vis is a really interesting one, and I know one of your questions is about that, because people don't realise that the two bits of high vis that actually are really important. So some high vis with loads and loads of writing won't meet the standard.
Really?
Because it's all about the comparison between the fluorescent material and the reflective tape. So it's really important.
Okay.
That's why it's important to have it. And why they should have standards is because standards are like the benchmark. So it sets the minimum requirement. So that if something's got a standard, then you know that it has had to perform in a specific way to a certain level, which gives you assurance that it's going to do the job it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So with the safety standards, how are they tested? And what's the different test for hats and body protectors?
Okay, so they're normally tested by an independent laboratory, and that's the testing house. And then the other part is they also have to have a CE certificate, which gives them the CE mark. So the CE mark is not a standard. A lot of people think the CE means it's a standard. It's not. The CE mark is a proof that the piece of equipment meets the PPE regulation, which is what controls all safety equipment. And so the testing house has a range of tests that will be specified in the standard, and they have to reach that minimum level. And depending on what you're testing determines the types of tests. So something like a hat will have a range of tests that will test it basically in a way that replicates different types of accidents that you might experience falling off. So they'll have a flat anvil, so the hat is dropped onto a flat hard surface, which replicates you coming off and landing on the road. They'll have some of them have like what they call a V anvil, so that could be like you hitting a sharp object or a pole. There's a mechanical strength test, which is relatively new.
So like a crush test.
Sort of like a crush test, but the boffins on the committees don't like crush tests, so that's why it's called a mechanical strength. And that is basically, if you pick up your hat and try and squeeze it from both sides, that's what the test does. And that is the one that you want to be really strong when your horse rolls over the top of you and a rotational fall. And then there are other things that like test the harness, so how well the harness on around you works. The pull-off test to make certain that the hat won't pull off you at a certain type. And then obviously the impact, so that all of these measure how much force goes through the hat to see how much energy is going to reach your brain, and that's what causes concussion. So the less amount of energy that goes through the hat, the less impact it has on your brain. And so that's all of the ones that just for hats. And then the body protector is similar, but just not quite as many. They test a lot more by sight and feel. So they'll, for example, they have a comfort test and body protectors to make certain you can move and do the things you should be. They have a coverage to make certain it covers the bits of your body, so you know that there's foam, and in certain bits of your body where you can adjust them, you want to make certain you don't adjust it so much that it leaves gaps. So they check for that. They also have two different types of anvils. So they have a narrow bar, which is literally a narrow bar which impacts on
For
the
like
bone.
if you're falling on a pole or something.
Or your horse kicks you.
Yeah.
And the other is a flat one, which is when you fall off, and like I did a few months ago, land flat on my back. So they tend to be, and again they're testing for the amount of impact, energy that goes through the foam.
Do they test like the 0.2 in the air jackets? Because I've recently found that when I wear my air jacket, I have less movement, riding cross country, than I do just in my body protector. So I did my first advanced a couple of weeks ago, and I went in just my body protector, which my parents were not very happy about. But I did, I was jumping around, and I did find that I was more mobile, and I felt like I could stay in balance better.
You adjusted it, or you took it off?
I took it off.
That could be a fitting issue. That your air jacket was fitted too small. That is really key. Sometimes that will also impact if the air jacket is an inward inflating versus outward inflating. That means that if it's an inward inflating vest, then it has to be quite baggy on you. Otherwise, if it's too tight and it tries to inflate.
I don't know which it is, but it has. If it does go off, it's proper.
Okay, that's a fitting issue. So air jackets don't have a standard currently, and so there is a standard for air jackets, but that's for motorcycle air jackets.
Why not for riders?
We're developing one now, and that's because they came from the motorcycle industry, and they were able to market them with a CE mark because they got a CE certificate by what they call a technical file. So every piece of safety equipment has to have a technical file alongside it, and that basically explains exactly how it works and provides the evidence that it does what it says on the tin. You still have to have that for a standard, but with air vests where there's no standard, then they comply with the regulations by having a technical file. So most manufacturers will do their own tests. There is a in-house standard that a testing house has developed. So what we're doing now, and I sit on the European committee that's doing it, is we're looking at adding an air vest standard to the body protector as a different part.
Are they carrying on with the... Because I saw a study was published that showed a correlation, obviously not showing that one has caused the other, but there was a correlation between more accidents and wearing air vests.
It did, but they were missing a lot of information.
And they said that at the end.
Loads of questions. So they didn't correlate, for example, the fall history of the riders. So you could say if you fall off a lot, you might think, good idea to get an air jacket, therefore there might be more.
You're going to show up more.
And also in the study, they didn't actually look at the types of jumps and the types of falls. They didn't look at the type of jump and the type of fall. So obviously, if there were loads of rotationals, then you'd have...
There's a lot of room for further research.
That's what you'd say, exactly.
So with the different numbers in hats as part of the safety standard, does this mean they've undergone different tests, or what's the point of having... Why don't we just have one number?
Right, it's a really good question. What it is that over the time each country has developed their own standards, so all the different numbers basically represent standards from different countries. Okay, so PAS 015 we'll all know because that's what most people wear here, and that was developed by the British Standards Institute at a similar time as they were developing the European standard. So we had the 4472, which is a really old standard, and as they were developing the EN 1384, they were developing the PAS alongside it, and that's why they were so similar, but PAS was always slightly higher. So if you think of all of those different numbers as different flavours of cake. Okay, so you've got your HAT standards, that's a cake recipe, and you have a chocolate one, a lemon one, and a walnut one, and that's your ASTM F1163, your PAS 015, and your 1384.
God, I'm so hungry.
I can reel those off.
All taste slightly different, and they all slightly do the same thing,
But they're still cake.
but they're still cake. Yeah, and there's also an Australian one, 3838. Okay.
It might be a silly question, but why do body protector standards keep going up and up and up? Like, keep being renewed and renewed? Like, surely, like, if body protectors are good now, will they not be good in 3 years' time? Or
That's because foam ages.
oh, okay.
So foam does age. So HAT standards also keep going up. So you've got the PAS 015, there's a 98, there's a 2011, and there'll be a new one. The SNELL, which is the SNELL 2001, and now the 2016. It's because standards have to be developed over time. So because the body protector standards link with the European standard, they have to be revised every 5 years. The fact that we've got 2009 and 2018 just means it takes us a long time to do it. So, and so we have to keep renewing them, to acknowledge developments in technology, but also because if you've got a 2009 garment, that will age, so you can't use it for 10 years. Well, some people do, but you shouldn't, because just general wear and tear. They don't suffer as drastically as a HAT does, but if you fall off and you notice a real dent in your body protector, that means the foam has been damaged. Because it's memory foam, it will fill back up again, so you won't see it. So it's not as black and white as HAT. If you fall off, get concussed, get a new HAT. Body protectors can take a bit more, but we still say replace them every 5 or so years, purely through wear and tear and the fact that the foam does start to age after a bit.
I mean, you're likely to have changed shape after 5 or 10 years, aren't
Unless
you?
you're really lucky.
I have a confession to make on this.
How old is
So-
yours?
No, mine's new now because
Now.
they renewed. You had to do a 2009 one, and I was the person that had a 2000 body protector, and I was like, oh, I can't wear it anymore, and I'd had it since I was 12.
I would say someone I was at Pony Club with,
It still fitted. I should point out.
she got to 16 and decided she needed a new body protector because she had the same body protector that she'd learnt to ride in, and she learnt to ride when she was 6, and she just and it wasn't new when she was 6, and they just like moved the Velcro right to the very end.
Just because this is audio, Claire's got her head in her hands.
Yeah. But then don't forget, if you're thinking about fitting, the little red tags, if you can see any red tags, then that means it doesn't fit you anymore. Point.
That's handy.
Yes.
Very
My
handy.
mum does this, and I'm always getting cross at her because she's like, she tries to do the body zip it up. It doesn't fit that well, so she takes the Velcro off, puts it on, does the Velcro up again, and I'm like, but they got fitted with the Velcro. You've just undone the Velcro and put it on again, and now it's not how it was fitted when you bought it.
I mean, that's what we all used to do.
Okay, no, there is
But we know better now, so
yes, no excuses.
So we've talked about how you should replace your hat after a fall and your body protector after a fall. What is the helmet bounty scheme?
Right, the Helmet Bounty Scheme we introduced, 3 years ago, because we were working with Dublin University and they were doing a big research study across Europe and across a number of different sports, and they needed hats that had undergone severe accidents.
You had to be concussed.
You had to be concussed.
Yeah.
You had to be concussed. And we needed to know all of the details about the accident, because what they were looking at was looking at the way accidents happened and doing accident reconstruction models, and also looking at the damage hats suffered so that we could understand that to help develop standards better. And so yes, if you came off at a BE event and were unfortunate enough to be concussed, provided you filled out the form and gave us all the details, then as compensation for your hat, we gave you £100 to go and buy a new one.
I came off at Pony Club Nationals and I wasn't concussed, but my mum was like, "Oh, you can be concussed. That's fine. You can be concussed, and we'll get you a new hat." And I was like, "But I'm not. No, you can be concussed."
And I have to say, even if you're not concussed and you came off and banged your head, you should still replace your hat.
I did immediately go and get a new hat because I had my first 2-star my first 2-star? No, my first 3-star the next week.
Oh my God.
And so I went to Bow and buy a new hat, and the only one they wanted to fit me to was pink and sparkly. And I went, no, I know this one fits me with hat tape in it. So I want this one. And they were like, oh no, but this one fits you. No, no. This one.
It's a really good point though, because seriously, you do need to have them fitted, because even if you buy the same hat model and the same size, it's not necessarily going to fit you in the same way, because they are hand finished. So there's that degree of what we call micro fitting to tweak it to fit your head the best way possible.
We're going to try and take a video of Alex getting her
Yeah,
hat,
I need
her
a new
new
hat.
hat fitted.
brilliant. How
So
many
we can put that up.
Oh, I shouldn't ask that.
What are the trade stands here?
The cheapest one.
No, the best qualified to fit your hat is the right answer. So the helmet bound scheme we run with BE, we run with racing, and we run with Pony Club and Riding Club at the big events, because there has to be a medic present to certify that you've
Are concussed.
are concussed, I'm afraid.
I had a good one with this because I fell off and had not quite a rotational, but I essentially snowplowed head first into the ground, and my hat came down over my nose, and I looked like the Elephant Woman for about 2 days. And I got my hat off and obviously went to get a new one. But when I took it off, there was a dent in the front where my nose had gone in.
How did you not break your nose?
I don't know. I have no idea. And at the back, where it had been pulled up, there was a gap between the harness and the hat because of the amount of force. And so I literally went around to my Pony Club teaching going, this is why you should replace your hat. Look what has happened.
They're really useful, because we have like a stock of accident hats in the office that shows exactly that.
Oh,
I
God.
tend to like the ones that look perfect on the outside, and when you take them to pieces you can see all the damage on the inside.
Yeah, those ones are cool.
Those ones are good. Aren't we sad?
Yes.
Going back to the body protectors,
Yeah.
we spoke about hat standard numbers. There are different levels of body protector. I know most people that event will probably use the purple level 3 one, but what's the difference between that and the level 2 and the level 1?
Okay, so now we have purple level 3, which is the 2009, and we have the turquoisey, bluey level 3, which is the 2018 one. So that was the one that came out last year. We decided we needed to change from purple because we've been having that for quite a few. Level 1 is the lowest level, and that is only certified for licensed jockeys in racing, and that's due to a weight issue and the fact that jockeys fall in a different way. They're professional riders, they come off at speed and tuck and roll.
They know how to fall off.
Yeah, they do, and that is a much lower level of protection, and some of the tests it's a third of the protection.
Wow.
So it really isn't suitable for any other rider. And level 2 actually is the in-between thing that nobody really uses, because it doesn't really offer you enough protection for normal riding. We kept 2 because in the really early standards the gap between 2 and 3 was a lot closer. So a lot of children would wear 2 because they tend to bounce easily and the garment was thinner, so they were better. But now 2 is a lot lower than 3, so actually we're looking now, racing has actually moved up to level 2.
Oh wow.
And so it's a lower level, but the doctors in racing now want their jockeys to be better protected. Some of them would really like them to go into level 3, but jockeys have this weight thing, so they're resisting it. So now level 1 is almost not used, and most of flat jockeys use 1, jump jockeys use 2, and everybody else uses 3.
I suppose if you're eventing, you're likely to have higher impacts of like falling on a fence, having a horse come down on you, that sort of thing, than I guess
and
flat
jockeys
racing.
tend to be
don't
flat on the ground, and to be honest, when flat jockeys come off, they usually tend to be quite spectacularly bad, multi-horse accidents. So so that's the difference, and we have more obstacles we can bang into.
Going back to the fact that air jackets don't have a safety standard and body protectors do, what do you do for integrated air jacket and body protectors?
You make certain that your body protector is a level 3 beta, and then you're covered, because then I always think of body protectors as static protection and air jackets as dynamic. So body protectors are static, they're there all the time. Whether you're on the ground and get kicked or you fall off, you're always covered. Air jackets will only work when that trigger goes off. So it responds to when you need it. So it's a bit like getting in a car. You'd never get in the car and not put your seatbelt on just because there was the airbags in it. So that's like your air jacket and your body protector. Your body protector is your seatbelt, and your air jacket is your airbag.
So you mentioned that high vis clothing has safety standards. So why is that important? And what considerations do you need to take into account when you're buying them?
The reason it's important is that a lot of people forget that high vis is actually a safety garment, so it's got to perform consistently in the same way. And we really highlighted this a few years ago because there was a spate of products on the market that came. There were loads of bright pink jackets, and bright green, and they were saying they were high vis, but all they were bright pink and bright green, and they're very technical fabrics that are used. So as I said before, you have the fluorescent, which is the bright pink or orange or whatever, and then you have the reflective tape. So the fluorescent is really there for the day highlighting, you're there, and the reflective is particularly when the light's bad or you're coming into dusk or dawn, and that's the one that picks up and reflects the light back. And so high vis have to perform consistency, and so they have to meet tests of washability, that the fluorescent doesn't fade, that the reflective tape continues to be reflective, that it's durable, that it fits correctly, and so that's why you have a standard to ensure, and also the ratio of coloured fabric to reflective, that's specified in the standard.
So
if you have
those-
lots of
So those coats that are purely reflective, the silvery grey ones, they would not count as a high vis?
They might. You'd have to. There will be a number in the coat.
Okay.
So if it meets the standard, there will be a number, and the numbers you have to look for. There's one standard for professionals, so that's really important. So if you earn your living, so if you're a professional groom, or you're a riding instructor, when you go out, you have to make certain you are wearing a professional standard garment, because it can affect your insurance as well.
Wow.
So for high vis, and I'm rubbish on these numbers because I don't use them often enough, for the non-professionals they're the 1150, and for professionals they're the 471. And they have another standard for accessories like hat bands and
Leg wraps and things?
no, leg wraps are for horses. There's
Oh,
no standard
okay.
for horse products. Unfairly, our poor horses don't have a standard for them. It's only for us.
Okay.
So that's why. So it is quite important.
Okay, I think that's all of our questions.
Yes.
And just a put in for safety boots, if you're buying boots that claim they're safety boots, they have to have a standard as well. And the reason is that if you buy a boot that says it's got a steel toe cap and the steel toe cap is to a standard, it's not the same. The whole boot has to be a standard because the boot ensures that like the sole is strong as well. Otherwise, if you have a steel toe cap on a weak sole and that toe cap bends, you can do untold damage to your toes.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Gross. Oh,
Yeah.
toes. Anyway, thank you so much for talking to us again.
Very welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else we can ask about. I'm desperately trying to think because I enjoy talking to you so much.
If anyone's got any questions for Claire, please send them in to us. Or if anyone has got any hats that they've fallen off in, make sure that you send them off to the Helmet Bounty Scheme.
The other thing I wanted to say is, again, it's really important to get your safety equipment checked when you buy it new. It's got to fit you or else it won't do the job it's supposed to. So I'll put a plug in for my members, beta members in general. If they've been on one of our courses and they know how to fit garments, they are brilliant, and that's really key because if they don't fit, they won't work.
And we're going to share a really helpful post, a couple of posters that we've been given on body protector fitting and hat fitting, so that everyone can see and knows the signs of when they don't fit and when they do.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. All right, bye.
Bye.